hopefully this works. Looks like I'm having a bunch of Google Hangout issues. So, I'm doing some prep. Haven't done a video in a while. I figured, hey, turn on the camera, screw around, talk, whatever. If people comment in the chat, I will see it, and I can try to reply to your comments. In fact, I'm going to go pull up the video now to see the chat. I haven't been doing a lot of videos, been really busy, but yeah. Gosh, let me see how to. Man, it's been a while since I've done this. There used to be a way. This might be it. The link right here. Let's check out if this works. Mute that. All right, it worked. Okay, cool. So now I can see if you guys post something in the chat. And yeah. But anyway, so doesn't look like Hangout Toolbox works anymore. I don't know how long that's been down. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know what's going on with that. I tried to download the app. I tried a couple different things. So no overlays. Not that it really matters. Like I said, I'm just doing some prep for my 8 Pillars of Death campaign. In it, I have 4 players. My wife, my friend Matt, my friend Rob, and my friend Finch. So Finch is the guy who's a new player. Who's not, this is his first campaign ever playing. New to D&D, seems to enjoy it. He's playing a rogue assassin. Rob is playing a champion fighter, and he's also a brass dragonborn. The rogue assassin's a human. Matt is playing Urgot Groshak. He's a Path of the Totem barbarian. He's a half-orc. And then my wife, Paula, is playing Helena Goldana, a Tempest cleric, and she's a human. So there's 2 humans, a half-orc, and a dragonborn. And so far, it's been a lot of fun. We haven't played in a couple months. In fact, I haven't ran any D&D in a while. So, looking to just get back into it, But, yeah, so I'm hoping I can get a little bit of prep done, and then next Saturday we can play. Now, when we played last time, they were in the town of, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember, Farwater. And they were able to acquire some ships to help in protecting the continent. And they delivered a seal. Now, they weren't sure if the coastal city of Farwater was going to aid them or not. They would find out in the future. And they couldn't wait. They couldn't stay and wait. So they decided to leave and travel southeast around the continent down to Herwell Palace, which is another coastal city. Now this city, and the only thing they really know about it, because I gave them a little blurb about everything, busy merchants line the streets. It's the number 1 source of trade to the south since Moorkeep fell 80 years prior in the previous war with the 8 Pillars of Death. What was once known more as a fishing village has now grown to be the number 1 trade hub in this whole continent for coastal cities. So it's kind of like the gateway to the north. You pretty much go here in order to do trade to any northern cities. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. Now, what I was thinking in this time of them traveling is that this palace has already been attacked. And because the city actually does not have a lot of guards, it has more mercenaries, I thought about making it a city that's already fallen when they arrive. So, like, when they show up, the docks have been destroyed for the most part. A lot of the surrounding farms and things like that have already been destroyed. And the palace will still be there. And the walls around it will still be intact. And basically, they will have surrendered and given a lot of resources to to one of the 8 pillars of death. Now, each pillar is some form of faction, whether it's, dragon cultists or the necromancer or, like all sorts of different things. So I'm trying to figure out at this point right now who destroyed this coastal city, what did they want, and why, and what did they get from the rulers here. So one of the things I do, I start with a blank sheet like this, and I'm going to pull this up to show you. I start with a blank sheet like this. I start filling it out. These are kind of like my main bad guys. I put some stats down, but I'm pretty loose with it. I also normally fill out a settlement sheet that I've made. You can get all these on my website, rpgjuice.com, in the download section. But I fill one of these out, and that allows me to quickly tell the players what is going on, who's who, things like that. Dormant City, that's not it. And I thought I had stuff for this one, but apparently I do not. Not yet, at least. Nope. No notes. Questions to ask the players. So, I've got some notes scattered throughout different things. That's what I'm trying to find, is the notes from the last session. So, because I jotted some things down. This is old. It's not in this one. This is my book for this campaign, too. Let's see, maybe it's in this one. Nope, it shouldn't be this one. This is from an old campaign. Not there. I'm not so sure where my notes are at this time. Oh well. Alright, so I guess I just gotta make it up from the start. So let me grab a new settlement sheet. Kinda sucks when I have to do it over again. Alright. So here's my blank settlement sheet. And I know that this is for Herwell Palace. Now I need to come up with a name for what it used to be. So, formerly, I don't know. I'll come up with a name for it. Population. I mean, it's a large city, so I'll say 10,000. And when they arrive, it won't be that many because of how many people were attacked and killed and enslaved and kidnapped. So, let's see, notable NPCs. You're going to have Herwell. I've got to figure out a first name. So Herwell, who is in charge, he's the Lord. And going to have some kind of, what are they called? Merchant Guildmaster. Who basically will have a lot of power here. You're probably not going to have a lot of a lot of merchants here anymore. I mean, they probably either were killed or ran off for the most part. Only the really powerful ones probably were granted refuge in the keep, so, or in the palace. So you're probably not going to have very many left. In fact, I'm pretty much just going to say the city has fallen. And tavern, still I'm going to come up with a tavern name, but it's going to basically be in ruins for the most part. I don't know. What can I call it? Third Eye Fish? Or the Three-Eyed Fish? Okay. And I said that just northwest of here is where Stonehall Keep is. That's the largest kingdom. It's the kingdom that kind of controls everything. It's pretty close to there. Now that this has been destroyed, it kind of stops any trade from getting there, which would hurt them a lot. So they'd probably actually try to set up here. So this would probably be a town full of whatever they use to take over. So with that said, what would be a good faction? If there's 8 pillars that are doing the whole thing, basically, that make up this larger group, who would they send to take over a very pivotal place? I want to say orcs. Let's go with orcs. So, orc army. So there's some orc armies that are going to set up some posts here. Orcish camp in farmlands. And woods. So they're still going to hold the woods and stuff on the outside, but they will have a few inside. So they will take over the gate, and they will have some orcs on the docks. Alright, let's see. In fact, maybe they leave the tavern standing for a place that they can actually go and enjoy some food and drinks. Pretend that they're not orcs, basically. And they expect to be treated really well. So yeah, maybe if the players do get to the tavern, they can have safe refuge there and protection from what's going on everywhere else. So maybe that'll work. So now, that with that said, there needs to be an orc commander. Basically, all of the guardsmen have been slaughtered. You have, and if the players do get to Herwell, maybe he's such a coward that he wants to rat him out since there's only 4 of them. Could make for a lot of good combat. So minor hooks could be orc patrols. Yeah, so there we go. That's pretty much it. Trying to think if there's anything else I can come up with. I know it's rough. It's really rough. So, all right, I think I got enough to kind of get me going. I'll fill in the names and stuff later. But I think the idea is that this city's been taken over by orcs. So the players will be on their boat. Heading to Herwell Palace. They've been on their journey for about 2.5 weeks. And we'll say 3. Because I feel like 3 weeks, while a short amount of time, is actually a lot of time. So therefore, a lot of things could have happened in 3 weeks. Cities could have fallen, towns, villages, whatever. Alright. Sorry, I know this video is really slow. Alright. So my next part. What are the goals of the session? What do the players hope to achieve? What, if any, side quests might the players acquire in this session? What will the players face leading to the encounter? So, again, you don't want to railroad your players. You want to leave it a little open when you're doing this. But what is it they're seeking? Well, they're seeking out whoever's in charge to give them a treaty to rally up people for the army to fight and protect against the 8 Pillars of Death, which is basically 8 factions that make up one larger army serving one supreme ruler of the 8 Pillars. Now, to give you an idea of the scope, one pillar was the dragon cultists, or the cults of the dragon, that was trying to resurrect Tiamat. You had one that was a necromancer in an undead army, and actually he had apprentice necromancers. Another one was giants as a whole. I had never specified which ones, but I insinuated there were giants. It could be all of them, could be a certain type of giant. I personally haven't decided yet. Yeah, so there's lots of things. But anyway, so they're trying to get people to help them in this. Now, Herwell Palace, the fact that it's fallen, it's going to change. So one of their goals was to get to the Lord and get him on their side and get him to sign the treaty and fork over some men. He doesn't have any men. He's pretty much given up this pivotal spot to the enemy. So what do I think the player's goal is going to be? I wouldn't be surprised if the players avoided it. You know, they could just say, oh, Herwell Palace clearly has fallen, so let's skip that. They could say, hey, this is a very important place. We need to help them. So there's a lot of things they could do. I don't know what they're going to do. So I'm going to assume a few things. So one, they're either going to try and help, which means they will dock. They're either going to dock at the docks or down the coastline somewhere. So, on the docks, which are broken and destroyed, there will be orc guards. Now, up and down the coast, are orc patrols. And I will say they are seeking strong, capable slaves. Now the reason is this leaves it open for capturing the players, which in turn can make it so they are put to work if they get captured. Or if they're fought down to 0 hit points, they're captured. So that could be good. Now, so strong, capable slaves. Gives me a lot of different things that can happen. Maybe the players rescue other slaves. So now I could put that as another hook over here. Free slaves, which could be former guards for the palace. There. All right. Let's see. Front gates. Heavily guarded. By orcs. Woods leading to front gates. Are filled with the rest of the orc army. Okay. So that's a lot that can be done there. A lot of different things. They could be in this town for a long time. They'd probably be best trying to fight quietly and secretly. But that will be tough. All right. So with that, I need to come up with some orcs. So a plain Jane orc. I'm going to need... So we'll say orc guard. Orc patrollers, who will be more stealthy. And we'll just, for the heck of it, even though I don't think it'll happen, orc commanders / leaders. So they might be 1 per guard post. And then I'll stat those later. And that could be interesting, because that could go on for a bit. Alright, let's look at my map. Yeah, they could try to go back and up the river to Oakhartmoor, which is a hunting town. So maybe they see that Herwell Palace has fallen and try to work their way back. That could be interesting. And that would be the closest town. I think that would make sense. All right. I'm not even going to write anything about that. I'm just going to plan to wing that, or I'll come up with that later this week probably. That might be smarter. That's probably... So they have an NPC gnome that's on their ship, who's also an alcoholic. He could suggest that. So the gnome NPC could suggest going to Cardboard. For help to try and take back Herwell Palace. That would be interesting, because that could then set up mass combat, which I don't really do much of. Never done it, but I do have the Be a Better Battle Master or whatever, which talks about mass combat. I could use the rules from Unearthed Arcana for that. Oh, it looks like someone's watching live. Welcome. So that opens that up. All right. Let's see. What else do we got here? So I got that and that. They've been here. They've been there. They've been there. Sorry. I'm prepping and kind of talking my way through it as I do it. Alright. So, I've planned that they're going to approach a city by the boat, a coastal city, and upon approaching, they're going to see that the docks have been destroyed. They will see that there are orcs, depending on perception and things like that, depending on time of day. They will probably see that there are orcs and things like that. They will also be able to see that it looks like the town is very quiet, besides the fact that there's a lot of orcs. So we will see what happens there. Depending on what the players are trying to do or how things go, right off the bat, they do have a gnome NPC that is on their boat. He could suggest they go to a smaller town that is made up pretty much entirely of hunters and trying to get some important aid there. And since the players already know that there's a huge amount of danger going, on this continent, they might be able to sway this town to help take back Herwell Palace. Herwell Palace is this big trading city that's at the south of this continent and is very important for the main city to get supplies. So if this town were to fall or be taken over completely, such as it is, then it could be a huge turning point in this whole war. Now it is just orcs that have taken it over, so the players could just decide to stay and try to fight using more strategy. Again, I'm fine with that. They don't have any stealthy characters, really. I mean, they have one. They have a rogue assassin. They have a champion fighter, Path of the Totem Barbarian, and a Tempest Cleric. So there's some stuff they could do there. Let's see. Roderick is the gnome. So let me put that down. Roderick. He's the helmsman. And oh, nice. Yeah, I'm I just kind of go through my prep and just kind of wing it usually. I've got a list of cities I made that they could go and check out, and I've got my map of the continent, so I kind of have ideas. But yeah, that's crazy. That's a lot of counters to clip. I'll probably only be on here for another 15-20 minutes, but yeah. I And it's kind of nice to have somebody watching live, and sometimes if I get stuck on something, I can just ask for an idea. So let's see. So they can go there. They could also go back to Oakhartmoor. Let's see. What else could they possibly do? Coming from the water, the docks are destroyed. They see some orcs. Maybe the docks aren't destroyed, but they're quiet, and they don't see orcs. That might be better. So it'll depend on their perception and stuff, but they won't be obvious. There. So no smoke, no fire, nothing. Just quiet docks, some boats just sitting there. Yeah. Up and down the coast, orc patrols. So if they did see and feel suspicious, they could always go up the coast, still fight some orcs. Seeking slaves gives me an out. Front gates heavily guarded by orcs. Woods leading to front gates are filled with the rest of the orc army. Okay. So, side quests. I don't think I really have any ideas for spin-offs. Will the players face leading to the encounters? Okay. I think after this they're going to have to go to the main city. So, let's keep it to those two. I'm going to make sure that they get some possible information. So Stonehall Keep, which is the biggest, that's the main keep of the whole continent, will be attacked any day. Due to surrounding cities which are already under control. All right. So basically, they're going to find out that all the major cities surrounding Stonehall Keep have already fallen, or at least tied up in conflict. So then that means the players can choose to defend those and take them back, or go straight to Stonehall Keep. And that then sets up some interesting things there. Yeah, because there's not a whole lot on this side that can defend Stonehall Keep. There's Steelhaven, Oakhartmoor, and Herwell Palace. Those three. Oakhartmoor will be safe. Steelhaven will be taken, and Herwell Palace will be taken. So yes. So Steelhaven will be under control. Under attack by the undead. There we go. Under attack by the undead army. Yes. Okay. Perfect. So I like to do that too. So even though the players will be really far away from that, I still like to let them know what's going on elsewhere. So they're going to find that out. They're also going to find out Okay, so Steelhaven, attacked by undead. Windvale, which probably would have been the next place they'd travel to by boat. Windvale will be under attack. And that's also a coastal city. Moorkeep. I thought that was my ruins. I think Moorkeep was ruins. Yeah, the fallen city. Oh, but it was rebuilt near an old abandoned temple of Tiamat. So perfect. Moorkeep attacked by dragon cultists. Okay, Windvale Keep. The humans here have been known to keep to themselves very quiet portion of the continent. I don't know what's going to attack that yet. Alright, Nalena Hill is... Yep, okay, near the forest of Neverbright. So it's a very dark, fey-like forest. And then Gazimir. Which Gazimir's in the mountains. It's near the Valley of the Endless Caves. And also near the Forest of Neverbright. So Nalena Hill and Gazimir. Nalena Hill. Let's see. Lended aid to Gazimir. Gazimir attacked by drow from underground. So we have dwarves and elves fighting the drow to push them back. Now, I don't know if the players will find out all this, but I'm going to keep all this moving in the background. So all this is going on. Windvale. Windvale's not attacked. Let's just say they're not attacked. Has not seen conflict yet. Okay, and then Oakhartmore is not either. Okay. So with that, I know where the Evil Mage's tower is, their citadel. I know where a bunch of goblins are. Goblins, though, aren't going to be organized for the war. Okay. I have a huge, huge area between Moorkeep and Stonehall Keep. Mountains, temples, ruins, woods, everything. So there's a lot of stuff that could be going on in there. That's going to be the next thing I got to figure out. Okay. Right now, the campaign I'm running is this faction that's made up of a lot of factions. So it's called the 8 Pillars of Death, and there's like 8 sub factions. And when oh, cool. All right. So what are the PCs trying to achieve? So when the campaign started, I knew that I wanted to finish something I started a long time ago. I had a previous campaign with my wife was in that one. And in it, the players were fighting off the 8 Pillars of Death. Now, I started it with the Horde of the Dragon Queen adventure. And you had the dragon cultists. So then my idea was that they were part of something much bigger. They were just 1/8 of what was trying to take over the continent and possibly the world. And then their portion, their big goal was to take over a bunch of stuff and bring back Tiamat. Well, the players also fought a bunch of necromancers, or a necromancer, I'm sorry, and his undead army before it really gotten off the ground, and defended it. And that was going to be another pillar. So that campaign fizzled out because we moved across state. So, because I still had a bunch of ideas for it, I decided this group was going to do the same thing. Now, with the first couple sessions, it was kind of getting them some background of what had happened 80 years prior with the defense against the 8 Pillars of Death. So they've learned about that, and in the process found out that there are still these sub-factions. In fact, they came across a city in the mountains called Isben, which was a city that was all dragon cultists. And actually, yeah, they were all they weren't dragon cultists, they were cultists that served basically the 8 Pillars of Death. They provided safe haven away from everybody else, things like that, and also did mining for them and sacrifices, and basically were trying to bring back the 8 Pillars of Death and help them out, and basically be like a safe city for this larger faction. So anyways, the players got a bunch of information there after they were almost killed in their sleep, not thinking anything of it at first, that it was just another city that they just hadn't heard of. And they found another city in the mountains when they were trying to escape called Iceblade Kingdom. And the Iceblade Kingdom was a city, an old dwarven city that many thought had fallen during the Great War. But the truth is they've been fighting these creatures from the Underdark, Drow, Durgar, Svirfnevlin, all sorts of other things. They've fought mind flayers, and were actually fighting dragon cultists as well. So they've had all these different battles over these 80 years, which have tied them up so they couldn't, get out and say, hey guys, we're still here kind of thing. Like, they're just there. Plus, the nature of the dwarves there anyway, they're not dwarves that like to travel far from home. So they don't really leave or anything like that. And it's an all dwarven city. And so when they were there, they were given a letter from the king of the Iceblade Kingdoms to send to all the other cities and rally them for whether it's aid or supplies or whatever they can get, basically. And before they had left, there was the Cult of the Dragon, kobolds, mercenaries. Basically, it was like redoing the attack from Horde of the Dragon Queen, but it hadn't quite happened. In fact, you could see the dragon far away. They saw the army, and the players, instead of deciding to help, just said, hey, is there a back way out that we can go? And they just wanted to leave and start delivering the King's Seal to get help. So from there, they went to Ironhaven. There was some good role-playing there with the people in charge, some of the guards and things like that. That's where one of the players who, from their backstory, had a boat. They got the boat. He had a helmsman, and then they decided to take the boat to Farwater. On the way there, so here, let me pull this up. I'll try and show you on here. And I have recaps on my channel too, but so they started in Stonehall Keep, went to Isben. Okay, from Isben, they traveled through the mountains up to the Iceblade Kingdom. And then that's where they went up to Ironhaven. From Ironhaven, they got their boat, went all the way down to Farwater, which I don't know why they went that direction, but they did. So in that time, I figured a lot of stuff could have happened, a lot of assembly. Maybe Iceblade Kingdom fell. I haven't figured out what happened to that kingdom yet, but it was, the way I described it, it'd be really hard for that kingdom to fall, to be honest. But from Farwater, they went down to here, and that's basically between the last session and now, they've been traveling from Farwater down to Herwell Palace. Now, this is what I'm saying is basically overrun by orcs. And the idea is that the lord there is a coward, and so he basically gave in right away and sacrificed his guards and his what little army he had. And this city was once a fishing village. That's it. Until 80 years ago. And now it's grown to be a big merchant place with some guards, but they're not anything special. And so the orcs are going to have the docks. They're going to be at the gate, and they're going to be in the forests around the road that lead to the front gate. So the players, if it seems suspicious, which I'm hoping to describe it in ways that it will either dock, park further up the coast, or possibly go back to Oakhartmore, which is a hunting city, mostly hunters, and so they trade in fur and things like that, but they usually go through Herwell Palace. Maybe they can get some reinforcements to either take back Herwell Palace or give up on Herwell Palace and go to the main city of Stonehall Keep, which is right here, not far from Herwell Palace. Stonehall Keep is like the main city. That's like, if you're talking about the United States of America, you're talking about like New York. If New York was taken, I mean, that's a big deal. A lot of people, things like that. It's a major resource kind of thing. But Herwell Palace is very important because that's where all of the trade from all the southern continent comes from. Farwater is cut off from the rest of the continent because of how dangerous the lands are, so everything has to go by boat from there. So you can't deliver things to Farwater unless you're planning on taking it from there on boat to some other city. The other portions of the map, so down here on this side, there's not a lot to be concerned about for the most part. Like this, I haven't even planned what's in this area. In the past campaign, that's where most of the army of the undead was and stuff. But yeah, so there's lots of stuff that can still happen. Like I said, they've only really been in this far east side. So I try to leave it up to them to steer the game. So I don't force them anywhere. They just kind of do what they want. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I want there to be consequences for their actions. Going to Farwater cost them time. It cost them a lot of things. And in it, I think this city falling is probably one of the better, or probably one of the more realistic consequences to what they did. If they would have went the other way, the city still would have fallen too, but they would have been able to get more places aligned with them. So for instance, right off the bat, they did send an NPC to Nalena Hill before they went to Ironhaven. So it kind of split. So they sent an NPC here, they went here. Then they went to Farwater. That NPC went to Nalena Hill, and then from Nalena Hill, they're going to go to Gazimir. So again, that's from the elves to the dwarves. I'm going to allow that to be a strong alliance formed there, and they're going to go help the other dwarves. From there, though, if you go down to Moorkeep, which is known as the rebuilt city, I don't know. I don't think NPCs are going to go that way. I think once they get to Gazimir and they're working that out, they're going to find out that Steelhaven has been attacked and some other places have been attacked. And so immediately, once they start hearing that these bigger cities are attacked, I think your reaction would be to protect your main thing, protect your main city. So hypothetically, if America was attacked, the first thing people would try to defend would be Washington, D.C. You're going to pull in some people to surround D.C. kind of thing. So in this, they're going to pull in their armies and try to get to Stonehall Keep. And that's not how you end the war. That's how you play defense and conservative. So I think there's a lot that can still happen. There's still a chance the players might decide to say, hey, we want to do some dungeon diving. And they just go dungeon crawling. Well, then I gotta figure out in the background how this war unfolds. And I don't know. I don't think I want it to just fall into chaos and ruin, but there's a good chance. There's a really good chance that happens. Ultimately, my goal is that out of this 8 Pillars of Death, I want the center of it, the main bad guy, to rise and be strong. You know, and to lead to a reoccurring villain that is really powerful. Now, if the Necromancer falls and, you know, the Cult of the Dragon falls and things like that, awesome. I need to start getting to that. So this is going to be an orc army. It's not even close to being a full pillar, you know. But I think at Stonehall Keep, I'm going to put a huge confrontation with one of the main pillars of the 8 Pillars of Death. And there will be a good chance that they can destroy it. So, I don't know. I like more epic campaigns. And I think the players showed a lot of interest early on in the history of it, which is why it led to being about this again. Because originally, I when I was talking about it, I had no plan to make it this big again. It was going to be a smaller thing, but the players kind of latched onto it and seemed to want the epicness. So, I've never had big battles. Right now, I've just kind of been thinking, right now, it's no dice at all. I've just been saying, okay, if this happened, I think this would happen. So, for example, Hurtwell Palace, I decided fell because I knew that the city was smaller and newer. And I kind of envisioned it, for instance, Laketon, I think it's Laketon, from The Hobbit. The guy who was in charge was a total coward, you know, fleeing with the gold. I feel like if that place fell under attack, he'd give in and protect his ass and whatever he thought was important to him. So I'm kind of doing the same thing with this specific location. So that's why when the players get there, it's already kind of taken over by orcs. I don't think that Oakhartmoor would be important to them because Oakhartmoor doesn't offer anything. So that's why Oakhartmoor is not attacked yet. And I don't think they will attack it because, again, it's just basically it's a city that just hunts. I mean, they have wilderness. They go hunt buffalo and things. Not buffalo, but different creatures and for pelts and stuff like that, but they don't have like anything that's worth going for. It's not a important choke point. There's no strategy to taking that place. But they have very adequate hunters, which could be turned into great fighters. Steelhaven's important because it's a mine. It provides a lot of stuff, again, to Stonehall Keep, just like Hurtwell Palace. So if those two are taken, they're kind of, you know, cutting off resources to Stonehall Keep. So Steelhaven won't necessarily fall. They got some adequate fighters there, adequate defense. Gazmere has really good defense. So basically, any of these places with good defense, they're not going to fall. You know what I mean? It's pretty much not impossible, but it's just not going to happen. You know, it would take too long. And I mean, if you study wars, most of the time wars are, you know, just resource management. Whoever can maintain their supplies longer, kind of thing, will typically win. So that's kind of how I view those right now. So yeah. But no, sometimes I'll leave things to dice. In this case, I'm not right now. My dice are over on my shelf. I just throwing some ideas down. So, how do I determine if they succeed? Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'll use dice. It kind of depends. I don't think I've ever had NPCs sent to deliver a message in the past. This time when it happened, it was kind of on spur of the moment, and I said, okay, the NPC is already planning on going there. The players then said, well, why doesn't he do this? We'll go here. I said, okay. So it was more of me saying yes to their idea. And when they were in Ironhaven, I was just improvising something, and it basically I said that the guy had succeeded in delivering the message. I think if in that prep session between, I probably would have rolled. I think it depends. When he traveled there, he wasn't by himself. The players, I actually had the players meet him in a cave, and there was a point where they actually got to control him in battle, and he was a really high level fighter who was actually injured but still very good in combat, and so I just kind of gave him that extra body. And I did that because I had prepped a session expecting 6 players, and 2 players didn't show up, and they had this guy with them who was hurt. But yeah, so that's kind of how he even came about. It was more of me winging it. I do a lot of improv, and so that's where things usually come up. So for example, this stuff with the orcs, I could very well have the players find, a couple guards lying in wait somewhere. But yeah, it just depends, I think. There are times I rely on dice. For example, I usually will roll my random encounters before a session. Like, I'll do it in prep. Like, for instance, I know they're traveling by water. I will probably roll on some tables to see if they, run into trouble or a random encounter. What will it be? How many will it be? I'll roll for stuff like that before we play. Usually the same day, usually about 4 hours before. And I try to also at that time, the day of the game is when I usually will prep my descriptions, my layout of like the scene and things like that, and I will what else? Try to come up with interesting scenarios. So for example, I know they're traveling by water. I know there's 3 things they're either going to do. They're either going to park at the docks, park up the shore, or even go to a different place, right? If they park at the docks, I might say, okay, how do I want this to look? What are the ambushes? What terrain or whatever can they use in the battle? Things like that. So all of that, I try to do the same day. So when I plan encounters, I can have some interesting moving parts, and some of it, is just what is the scene going to look like. But yeah, it's most of the stuff I do with determining outcomes all over the place is usually improvised in game, and it's usually because I don't foresee the players asking about something. Maybe they ask about a certain character. Not that they're going to get the answer right then and there, but they might get something that spurs something in my head, and I'll write down what actually happened. Because I know it's important to the players. So now I know, okay, they were asking about that person. Clearly they want to know if that person's okay or dead or whatever. So a couple sessions later, I might say, hey, this is what you found out. Or here's a letter, or here, I do a lot with like letters. I'll do cutscenes. I try to do cutscenes, whether it's foreshadowing something, or it might answer a question they had. But yeah, and actually, it seems like most of my players enjoy the cutscenes I've done. I haven't heard anything. I've had one player who didn't like it once. He said, well, my character wouldn't know that, so why are you telling us this? And I'm like, because the player might want to know that. And just one person that I've ever gamed with that didn't really like it. But I think of it like when I'm playing video games, for example, I love to know, I like the backstory about the bad guys. Well, the best way to give backstory about bad guys is to do a cutscene. Whoops. To do a cutscene that doesn't actually give the players the chance to kill the bad guy right then and there. Especially if you want a bad guy to have some importance in your campaign, cutscene's the best way to do it. And speaking of which, I might try to work a cutscene into this game. So I'll have to think of something. Last time I did have a cutscene actually to a couple villages burning. So that could be what they find out in this. So let's do a cutscene to, I don't know. I'd do a cutscene to something. I'll just leave it blank for now. So, all right. Let's see. Anything else? Or guards, or patrols, or commanders. I think that's all I'm going to do for now. So it's getting a little late. Probably going to go to bed. But if you have any other questions or whatever, you can feel free to comment. On Facebook, you can send me a message. I have a group, Tabletop Gaming with Juice. I also have a page if you want to send me a message there. I'll probably post a link to this there too, but you're obviously here to watch. If you have ideas, I steal all the time, so you can feel free to share some, and I will definitely steal them, or at least listen to them. So, yeah, thanks for watching, though. I like being able to tell somebody what's going on and answer some questions. So, yep. That's it, though, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.